Our learners, you are welcome to our 8th lesson in science. I hope you are doing well and you are really studying hard. Now, still under section energy, we're looking at the unit light energy and our specific objectives to describe the operation of the pinhole camera. Describe the operation of the pinhole camera. Earlier in our previous lesson, we studied one property of light energy under the topic rectilinear propagation of light, where we investigated if really light travels in a straight line. And at the end of the experiment, we discovered that light travels in a straight line. Now, based on that, we shall study today's lesson according to the operation of the pinhole camera. My test question is, what is rectilinear propagation of light? What is rectilinear propagation of light? Alright, it states that in a uniform medium, light travels in a straight line. In a uniform medium, light travels in a straight line. Now, let us study the operation of the pinhole camera. Operation of the pinhole camera. This is how pinhole camera looked like when it was first invented. So you can see it. We have other inventions, but this is one of the structure of the pinhole camera. We are going to study this in detail. Now, introduction. The pinhole camera is the simplest kind of camera, consisting of a small hole in a light, tight box that focuses light rays from objects onto a screen to form an inverted diminished image. The pinhole camera is the simplest kind of camera, consisting of a small hole in a light, tight box that focuses light rays from objects onto a screen to form an inverted diminished image. Principal in the definition are the following keywords. It's a small hole in a light, tight box, meaning that the box is painted or constructed with material that are dark in color in order to prevent multiple reflection of light. So light tight doesn't allow light to reflect inside. And what does it do? It focuses or allows light rays from objects whose picture we are taking, light rays from objects onto a screen. And the screen is behind the camera, behind this camera, to form an inverted. Inverted means turned upside down. Diminished. Diminished means smaller image. An image is formed when rays from an object meet or appear to meet. So this is the definition of the pinhole camera. Let's move on. We are seeing that the operation of the pinhole camera works on the principle of rectilinear propagation of light. Let's take note of that. So when I ask, mention one principle upon which the operation of the pinhole camera is based, you you will see the principle of rectilinear propagation of light. Or we are seeing that one of the evidence that shows that light travels in a straight line is the operation of the pinhole camera. So this is another way of putting the same sentence. Alright, let's move on. Now let's look at the diagram, the actual diagram, and then the diagram as a drawing in science. So this is a structure of the pinhole camera. This is the front part with the pinhole here, and this is the back with the screen. The screen we can use greased or oiled paper or parchment or baking paper as our screen. Then this is a diagram. So these are objects whose picture we're taking, and light rays are coming from the object, passing through the pinhole and crossing over onto the screen, where this object forms an inverted image here. Now the eye is positioned behind here, so you can see, when the eye is positioned here, you see the image form on the screen. So this is a diagram. Take note of this diagram carefully. Alright, let's move on. So we're looking at how the pinhole camera works. How does it work? Before then, let's look at the features of the pinhole camera. Features of this pinhole camera. Good. The first point to note is that it has a pinhole in front of the box that produces a sharp, that's clear, with no rough edges. That's sharp image, no rough edges, and clear image. So sharp, no rough edges, and clear image. Note that if the pinhole is made smaller, the smaller the pinhole, it will produce a sharp, that's an image with no rough edges, but less bright image. So this is a disadvantage. If the hole is made smaller, it's going to produce a sharp image, but it will be less bright, because if the hole is made smaller, it will allow only a small amount of light, only a small amount of light into the hole. So the image will be sharp but less bright. However, we are saying that if the pinhole is made bigger, yes, the image becomes brighter because more light is entering, but blurred in the sense that on the screen will be multiple images formed, because making the hole bigger is like having so many pinholes put together, each pinhole producing its own image. Therefore, we'll have multiple images on the screen when the hole is made bigger. I hope you are clear. Good. The second point to note is that it has a screen at the rear end. The meaning of rear end is back of the box, on which an inverted image is formed. So behind it is the screen. As I explained earlier, the screen can be made of oiled paper or greased paper or parchment paper, what we call the baking paper for baking bread and cake. That paper can be oiled to serve as a screen. Then the third point, each box is painted black inwardly or outwardly to prevent multiple reflections of light. Remember we said the pinhole is an airtight, consists of an airtight box. So it's painted black so that light will not reflect so much in it to destroy the image. So this is basically the features explaining how the pinhole camera works. The features explaining how the pinhole camera works. Now let's proceed to look at the characteristics or the features of image formed by a pinhole camera. The image that is captured on a pinhole camera, how do they look like? How do they look like? That's the characteristics. So one, we're saying that it is inverted. The image captured is upside down, stand upside down. That's the meaning of inverted. Two, it is diminished. Diminished means the image form is smaller than the object. What you see inside is smaller than the object. Then finally, we're saying it is real. The image is real. That is, it can be formed on the screen. It can be printed if it were a modern camera. So it can be formed on the screen. Now, the image that you see in your mirror that you use, that image cannot be formed on a screen. In other words, it cannot be printed out. So we say that one is virtual. It's virtual. It cannot be formed on a screen. All right. By way of summary, my dear learners, we learned about the pinhole camera. We look at the actual diagram and the diagram as in drawing. We identify the features of the pinhole camera as consisting of a pinhole in front, and the boss is usually a light tight. Then we have a screen behind it. Then lastly, we look at characteristics of the image formed by the camera. That one, it is inverted. Two, it is diminished. And three, it is real. I will challenge you to try and study how to make a pinhole camera. You can even use a matchbox. You need a matchbox or any other box. And then you need, if you have black paint, paint it's black inwardly, and using a needle, create a pinhole in front. And then at the back, create a hole and place an oil paper or parchment paper and try and enjoy capturing some moments with the camera. I challenge you to do it, and if possible, send a picture to me on WhatsApp. For our advanced learning, read on the meaning and then study the ray diagram and the laws of reflection. So learn the meaning of reflection, the ray diagram, and the laws of reflection. But it is worthwhile to note that it's good to read on image, types of image, before we look at the reflection. I repeat, even as you are asked to read on the meaning of reflection, study the ray diagram of reflection and the laws of reflection, try to understand the meaning of image, types of image first. Congratulations. Thank you for your attention. Try and download the exercise, do it and upload it onto the page. Till we meet again. Bye.